Good morning and welcome to the Knit Shift, episode 18. My name is Laura and today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2015. I'm joined by my yawning buddy, Gracie, who is sleeping 90% of the time, it seems. It's a special day around here because today is Gracie's 10th birthday. So we have nothing planned because she is a dog, but we are giving you some extra scritches, and she will probably get maybe two GREENIES, which she gets one every day, and I can't even say that color or she will freak out. So hello, welcome, thanks for coming back, thanks for joining me. This is a knitting podcast with a dog guest who makes an appearance every so often. I have a lot to talk about today. Let me pull up my notes. Show notes can be found at thenitshift.com. I'm on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. I'm on Ravelry as Yarn Stormer. And we have a Ravelry group, so come on by. We also have a knit along going on in the Ravelry group right now. If you're working on a baby project, feel free to submit it. We have a 3-month knit along going until August 31st. Basically, a baby or child knit counts as an entry unless it's socks, in which case you need a couple pairs of baby socks or child socks to qualify. I have the prizes to share. We have a lovely zipper bag from Knitty Kitty. Thank you so much for providing this prize, Knitty Kitty Shop. And it's got, sheepy wool balls of yarn, aka are the sheep's bodies. And there's a very sweet little kitty zipper pull. Not a unicorn as I initially thought. And it's the perfect size for a sock project. I'm keeping another prize in here, 2 other prizes in here. The giveaway for the baby knits is a skein of Malabrigo Machita, which is a 100% merino superwash, 420 yards, about a fingering weight, and the colorway is Arequita. And there you have it. I also have to give away a needle keeper, which is a great way to keep your circular needles attached to a project and to avoid stitches falling off the needles. It protects your needles, protects your project. Nice little tool. All 3 of these are not a single prize. I think it will probably be the bag and the needle keeper and then the yarn. So I'll do a drawing and pick a post number at random after August 31st, and I've closed the thread. So if you're working on some baby knits, come on by. There are a lot of really sweet projects showing up in the FO thread in the Ravelry group. So check them out. Put this over here. What else? So today we're going to talk about some new shawls on the needles. I'm going to tell you about my trip to DC that last weekend, and a little bit of stash enhancement, and I have some cool news coming up. One final bit of podcast related news. I will not be filming next week. I'm going out of town to visit a friend in New York, so there's just no way I'm going to be able to pull off a podcast episode next week. So yeah. On to the knitting stuff. I have no finished knits to show you, even though I knit so much this week, you guys. I took the train to and from Washington, D.C., so I had about 4 hours to knit each way on the train. And I cast on 2 shawls in the past 10 days or so since I last podcast, so I have those to share with you first. The first shawl, I did really cast this on the train, and I'm very happy with my progress so far. This is the Forest Canopy shawl. It's a paid-for pattern by Susan Lawrence. Let's see if I can, there, that shows the lace a little bit better. It's a very simple diamond pattern. I believe the pattern is $7. It's a very easy beginner's shawl. If you're new to lace knitting, it's a bit easier to read than other lace projects, so I highly recommend it as a first-time lace project. I it's not my first lace, but I am much better at reading my knitting than than when I bought the pattern, which was like 5 years ago, and I cast on a project and I just abandoned it because I just couldn't stick with it. So it's much more smooth going this time. I'm using Knit Picks Interchangeables size 7, aka a 4.5 millimeter. And it's this lovely mustardy gold color. But when you actually look at the cake, I know. When you actually look at the cake, you can see it's a gradient. And I'm kicking myself because I cannot find the name of this yarn. It's about 800 yards of fingering weight yarn, and my mom got it for me at a fiber festival in Pittsburgh. And the colorway was Champagne Gradient, but darned if I can remember what the name of the yarn was. I feel like the words apple and farm were in the yarn brand name, but don't quote me on that. So this will be a very generous shawl. There is a chart. The Susan Lawrence, the designer, gives you both written and charted instructions for the lace. Even though it's a paid-for pattern, I feel like I can tell you that it is an 8-row repeat, and 4 of the rows are knit and 4 of the rows are purl. But on the 4 knit rows, only 3 of them are lace. So 3 out of 8 rows are actual lace, and it makes it very smooth sailing. So I haven't touched this since the train to DC, but I'm very eager to pick it up again. I'm actually off work today. The 4th of July holiday at my workplace fell on a Friday, which is my normal day off, which meant I got to take another day off in equivalent, so I'm taking it today. So I have a 3-day weekend right now, which is pretty exciting. And I'm using, I don't even know if there's a brand to this bag, but it's just a pretty bird bag. And using it always makes me think of the TV show Portlandia, if you're familiar, where there's a segment called Put a Bird on It, and it's kind of poking fun at Etsy and DIY stuff. So put a bird on it. There you have it. Put this over here. My next shawl has a bit of a process that got me to this point. You will remember I showed you a cone of lace weight on my last episode. I had purchased it for a pie shawl. And before I show you the shawl, I'll explain what happened with the project. So when I bought the yarn, I thought it was a 4,200 yard skein. It's a 4,200 yard cone of wool. And I thought, boy, this is really thin. Let me just unwind it here and show you. You can see just how thin it is. One of my friends said, I don't think that's lace weight. I think that's cobweb weight, which I don't know that that's a technical weight, but it's thinner than fingering, basically. Everyone knows lace, fingering, sport, DK, and so on. I don't know that there's officially a cobweb weight, and someone can correct me if that's wrong, but it's thinner than thin, basically. So I tried to cast on. I didn't get very far because it's a shawl knit in the round, and one of my friends said, start knitting it flat and then join. So I thought, okay, I'll try that. But no matter what I did, I tried a size 6 needle, then I went down to a 4, and it was just so open. I didn't like the fabric it was making, so I took a deep breath, and I'm sharing this tale with my friends. Yes, Gracie, please lie on my other project bag that I was going to show everyone. Let me adjust the camera here. One of my friends said, Laura, maybe you should hold the yarn double so that it's more like an actual lace weight. And I thought about it, and I thought, oh my god, I just do not want to knit. I don't want to wind 2,000 yards of cobweb weight into a cake. I basically think I felt like I would have been winding yarn for 2 years. But I thought about it. I thought about it in the shower, which is, I think, the place where I come to a lot of knitting realizations, as weird as it sounds. But I thought, why are you fighting this cobweb yarn? Just wind up half of it and be done with it. So I did, and I cast it on again with size 2 needles, which is a 2.75 millimeter. Knit it flat, and then I joined in the round, and now I love it. So the moral of the story is listen to your gut. So let me untangle this a bit. Every time I work on this project, I hold my breath because it's such thin yarn. I'm afraid of it breaking, and also I am nervous about it tangling. So I basically have a large pancake of a blob. I'm calling this my gray blob for now. And I've kind of rejoined where I knit it flat to start, and then I think I did an okay job of, getting it back in the middle there, rejoining it and kind of weaving it together. So, are you getting yeah, that's a little bit better view of the lace weight. So, like I said, I'm knitting this on a size 2, which is extremely, extremely thin. So thin, so I'm knitting it on, I wound off about half of the cone, and I wound it into 2 cakes. And this is not, this is one of the larger of the cakes, but this is a very dense cobweb weight, approximately, I guess, 60 or 70 gram cake of cobweb weight. So I have a long way to go on this, but I started thinking about the fact that I was knitting what I want to be a large shawl on very small needles, and I started fretting about running out of yarn, which might sound silly when you have what is basically 2,100 yards of lace weight, now that the yarn is doubled. But I just thought, you know what, why don't I just buy another cone of it on Webs, which is where I bought it. It's I didn't mention the yarn, but it's a Webs closeout. It's called Yorkshire 250 gram cone, basically, and they have a ton of beautiful colors, very natural colors. I highly recommend it. And the colorway I'm using is ash. So here's my second cone. So here's my first with about half of the cone wound, and then here's the new cone. I just realized I shouldn't probably hold these in front of me too low because, boobs. But yeah, it's a very beautiful, I'm afraid my camera won't do the color justice, but it's a very beautiful gray. That's a little better. It just has a lot of depth to it. It's a really pretty heathered gray, so I cannot wait to see how this turns out. I will be taking both of these shawls on my train trip to New York next week. I leave at 5 a.m. and I get to Penn Station at 1:30 in the afternoon, so I have a lot of knitting time ahead of me, and I cannot wait. I might be sick of the train come, noon or 11 a.m. when I've been on the train for 6 or 7 hours, but for now I'm very excited. So there you have my second cone of lace weight. So I officially have 8,400 yards of this cobweb weight yarn. I'm a little crazy, but this means I don't have to worry about running out of yarn. So basically it's a $20 insurance policy because the cone was $13. Each cone was $13 and then like $7 shipping. So there you have it. And let me see if I can extricate my third project from beneath Gracie. It's one you've seen already. Oh, I'm sorry to disturb you. May I have my knitting project, please? There we go. I'm carrying this in my Nomadic Yarns sock bag. I think she calls it a sock cube. Hi. I know I'm disturbing your very busy sleep schedule by sitting in your preferred chair whilst I podcast, but tough noogies, puppers. My next project is a pair of socks that I have had on the needles for a bit. Last week, I had showed you, gosh, I think I was just nearly to I was just about to the heel of the second sock, but on the train, I turned the heel and I started knitting up the leg, and I'm on the ribbing of the second sock, so I'm really flying along. I'm using size 1 Chaigu needles. I love these for socks. And the yarn is Flying Kettle. I have the name of the base here, just one second. Her glider base, it's a merino nylon blend, 400 yards, and the colorway is Grog-Bellied Sea Dog, which is a fantastic name. So here's the first sock. It's for me. It's a very tall sock, but it's a sky blue sock with blips of navy and pale pink and magenta and fuchsia, and my favorite blips are the highlighter yellow. Let's see if I can find one here. There's a nice little highlighter yellow blip right there. So there you have it. I did not weigh the yarn. Oh, I should tell you how I start these. I start with a Judy's Magic cast on. I increase every round for a little bit, and then I switch to every third round. This is a 68 stitch foot, but I started with 16 per needle, so 32. I do my toe the way I do because I think it makes a nice round toe. I knit up the foot, and I did a fish lips kiss heel. Kept knitting, and I think this is about 30 rounds of 2x2 ribbing. So I did not weigh the yarn before I started, but I am definitely going to be I'm not going to run out of yarn, knock wood, but I'm definitely using this in a very economical fashion, you could say. So that is the end of my current works in progress. I did work a bit on a pair of 2 at a time socks I have on the needles, but they are out of reach and the progress is minor, so there you have it. I have no spinning progress for you this week. I know it's the Tour de Fleece. I know I talked about, pardon me, I'm rearranging my foot here. I know I talked about spinning for the Tour de Fleece, but I've just been in such a knitting frame of mind, I haven't picked it up in a bit. And one of my friends suggested, instead of using the fiber I've been working on, perhaps I should start with some new fiber, and maybe that will be, not her words, but mine, the kick in the pants that I need to get going on spinning again. So that brings me to yarns, which, if you're new here, is my segment where I talk about yarn. So in DC, well, I didn't actually go into DC, except riding the metro. I stayed in Alexandria with some friends, and we really stayed in Alexandria the whole time. So I got my train arrived Friday afternoon around 2 p.m. and I had a few hours to kill before my friends got there. So I had lunch. I went to Fiberspace, which is a fantastic yarn shop in Alexandria, and I've talked about them before because I visited in May during Maryland Sheep and Wool Weekend. So my friends and I had plans to visit Fiberspace all together a day later on Saturday, but I follow Fiberspace on Instagram, and I had seen that they had just gotten in some Jill Draper yarn, and I love Jill Draper yarn, specifically Esopus sock yarn, and that's what they got in. So I had to go check it out, and as I expected, I had to buy some yarn on the spot Friday. So I bought this gorgeous skein of Esopus, which is 500 yards of fingering weight yarn, and it's superwash merino, American grown, American spun, American dyed yarn, and my camera won't capture this, but it's the most vivid bright red. It looks a little orangey here, but I promise you it's a very vivid red. The colorway is Strawberry Pop, and it's 500 yards, which is a very generous offering for a fingering weight yarn. And it's very reasonably priced too. It was $23. Jill Draper sells in an Etsy shop, so you can look there for some of her yarn. And then I was on the lookout because I already owned some Jill Draper yarn, I had a 6-month subscription to her Etsy shop where she sent you a skein of Esopus each month. That was a Christmas present last year. I was kind of hoping I could find a second skein for at least one of the colorways I have in my stash, because with 1,000 yards of fingering weight yarn, I could knit a really massive shawl, and I found a matching colorway. So I bought a second skein of Esopus in the colorway Deepest Cypress, which is a lovely deep green, and I have my original one right here, and I'm not sure if you can see, but the colors are just a little bit off. My cake that I already had is a little bit darker, But I think if I alternate the skeins, it won't be a problem. It'll just look like the color is deeper. So yeah, so those were my yarn purchases, and I also bought a couple odds and ends. I bought 2 bottles of Allure Fine Fiber and Fabric Wash, which is a no-rinse wool wash, and I bought them in the scents Prairie Breeze and Woodland Mist, and they smell amazing. These are produced by the folks behind Bijou Basin Ranch, so they just smell fantastic. This smells very clean and fresh, Prairie Mist, and this smells I don't want to say it smells like perfume, but it just has a slightly, let me smell it again and see if I can find the words for it. It just smells a little more soapy, like not wool soap, but human soap. But they both smell amazing, and I really couldn't choose between the two, so I had to buy both. I also bought a needle. Why can't I think of the name of it? Well, it's a little ruler for gauge swatches, and then you can measure your needles, a needle sizer, and it's by Kelborn Woolens. And I thought that would come in handy because I'm always awkwardly measuring my gauge swatches, and if I can just put it down on my knitting, that would be fantastic. So there you have it. Those were my purchases from Fiberspace. Let's see here. So that's it for my stash enhancement, but my weekend in DC was just really nice. I needed a break from work. I basically looked at the weekend like it was a time with good friends, good food, and just good times all in all. So I really enjoyed it. It was a perfect little recharge of my batteries. And I got home Sunday before I had to go to work, and it was just great all around. And that brings me to our final segment called Odds and Ends, and I already shared with you about my DC trip, and I have a bit more of good news, which I alluded to at the beginning. I have a new job at the newspaper where I work. I had applied for a promotion, a job that would be a promotion for my current role, and I found out this week that I got the job, which is fantastic. I'm really excited about it. It'll be a lot more responsibility. I will still be working nights. You know, this is called the knit shift after all, and I'm not ready to give up the nighttime lifestyle yet. But instead of working 3 to midnight or 4 to midnight, I will be working approximately 1:30 or 2 p.m. until about 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting time. I don't know when I'll start the new job. But it should be very soon, in the next few weeks. And my days off will change. I'm going to work, instead of Sunday through Thursday, I will work Tuesday through Saturday. So my weekends will move to Sunday, Monday. So it's an exciting time. There's a lot of change going on, a lot of interesting stuff happening in my household, more of which I'll discuss later. No, I'm not pregnant, because I know that's where people's minds go. But more stuff, more cool stuff is on the horizon around here. So I've been on cloud 9 the past 2 days since I got the job offer, and I accepted it last night at work. And I celebrated by going to TJ Maxx, and I bought myself one of those little neck pillows that you see people have on airplanes. I bought one for the train. But that wasn't really the celebration. I actually bought myself a new purse, a really pretty leather messenger bag that I really, really loved. So I'm very excited. That was a fun way to celebrate. So I'm not sure how the new job will affect my podcast schedule. I will be busier. I'm moving back into management, which is exciting. So I think I will probably still try to record Thursday or Friday, but I don't know. We'll just see how it shakes out, but I'm hopeful it won't mean much of a change in my podcast schedule. Maybe my day to film will change a bit from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like I have been. So, gosh, I think that was it for today. I fit a lot in this 25 minutes or so. So again, no episode next week. I will be back a week later with talk of my trip to New York. I'm visiting my best friend who is expecting a baby, and I'm going to deliver a sweater and a blanket to her that I knit and crocheted respectively. And I have plans to visit a yarn shop in the city, in Brooklyn actually. So I'm very excited, and I will have lots more to talk about in 2 weeks. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye!